so sorry, folks. But I do have certain, I have my priorities. Sometimes we have interruptions to our plans, and when those interruptions come, we have to make our choices. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but somebody in my life who was a priority, needed me. So I'm back. We'll see how this goes. I will say this though. Also, when I get a phone call, hold on, I'm bringing Jane on now. When I get a phone call, it automatically mutes my sound, so that the recording after a phone call is always going to be problematic. So I do apologize. My bad. Welcome back. The nice thing is on YouTube, nobody's ever going to know. They're going to say right after this break, and then we're going to clip right back to it, and it'll be fabulous. So again, I am sorry, but there are sometimes you get phone calls that you just have to take.
Yeah, I hear ya.
So, where were we?
Good question. I was about to ask.
We were talking about the group that you found yourself, and then I was talking about the time frame. Oh yeah, 3 months between figuring out who you were and coming out to your mother. And then I said that our time is our own. So, well, I didn't say that, but I was going to. So you can check the tape. All right, so. We have this expectation of ourselves to do, but if we know, we know. So you were talking about how you came out to your mother, and you were talking about the hair.
Yes. She was not of the mindset that I would ever be able to pass. And I believe her exact words were, "You'd probably be better off living as a boy who wished he was a girl."
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and yikes. So once I got that following Halloween, because that following Halloween, I went as a woman,
okay.
And that was how I came out to the rest of my family, and that went really well. I got a lot of compliments on that, and I think this fell over, so I'm going to move it. Okay, sorry. But yeah, that after I came out to the rest of my family, that seemed to go pretty well. And then I was out at that point. And then after that, it was just Facebook posts, and everybody knew. I'm that's who I am. Yep.
Yeah, I get it. We all have those moments of coming out, and and for some of us it goes really well. For some of us, not so much. So your mother had reservations. What about the rest of your family?
Not really. I really lucked out. Family-wise, one thing that I did kind of take an issue with was there was a lot of I didn't see it conversations,
right?
Where it was almost like an interrogation of and then the persistent, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you positive? Are you sure?" And eventually that kind of mellowed out a little bit. But yeah, I'm pretty much out now. And everybody, if they do have a problem with it, they're not telling me.
And they don't always. I mean, sometimes they don't. Yeah. And that's just part of our lives. Now, so you mentioned the point of they didn't see it, and that all falls under the idea of being trans enough for others. And it's one of those really dangerous quicksand pits, where we can feel like we didn't have the enough of a trans experience. We didn't have enough of the dysphoria. We didn't have enough of the desire to be female that we feel like, okay, we're an imposter. You know, I get imposter syndrome all the time, not from my being trans. You know, there is no doubt in my mind that I am trans enough. You know, there's no doubt. But at the same time, you know, imposter syndrome or feeling that we aren't enough is a very common trait amongst transgender people, and it's unfortunate. But it is something that society perpetuates upon us because they expect us to demonstrate these character traits that they see are indicative of being transgender. So what exactly? I mean, it's good to know that they died down. So now, so you're out everywhere, you say, or that, you know, you're out everywhere. You know, does that involve like coming out at work or, you know, school or? I mean, you're 25, so it could go either way.
Yeah. I did come out at school. Well, work. School, like, fell apart a long time ago. I did come out at work. I actually worked in my mom's bookstore. I was the receiver there. And it went pretty well. There was definitely an older crowd, but there wasn't anything too hostile. There were a handful of guys who like laughed at me when I told them. But that, like, as far as like problems go, like that's a pretty, like, again, like I feel like I really lucked out in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but don't downplay that kind of behavior, because that kind of behavior is symptomatic of a much larger problem. And we'll come back to that. But you know, go ahead and keep going.
Yeah, I meant like in like comparison to like the things a lot of other people have had to go through.
But
it was.
No, okay, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay. When I really don't like skating over this because, you know, it falls down to that idea that, you know, our experiences are not comparable to others. You know, just because my experiences were traumatic, landing me in a hospital, doesn't mean that that doesn't make me more or less valid. That's just my journey. The troubles that you go through, you know, with people laughing or people, you know, pointing or making fun are just as damaging emotionally, if not physically. So, you know, never look at your own experiences as somehow not inferior, but better, because, you know, it's like, oh, well, I didn't have to go through all of this. I didn't have to go through this kind of journey. Yes, but you did have your own pains, and you should always acknowledge that you have traveled a journey, and you know, it's important. So, I'm all about the mental health, folks. Maybe not my own, but I'll be there for everybody else. Okay, so
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I don't even want to talk about that right now. Okay, so. You come out at work. It didn't go so well. So it sounds to me like your coming out story has a little bit of tension in it. Like, you know, people were reluctant at first in pretty much every situation.
I mean, yeah. Now that you said it like that, I guess I have like had an issue of like comparing like my own coming out story with like coming out stories in the past, because I feel like while it is a lot easier now, that doesn't mean like that like systematic problem that you had mentioned has died out. And so I think it's like it's presenting in a less like confrontational and more like backhanded way, if that makes sense.
Passive aggressive.
Yes, exactly. Where it's like at the root like cause of it is still there, but like it's not as like blatant. Like I saw a YouTube video where it was Mia Mulder's video on like being trans and suffering, and she had mentioned like having to go like when she had come out and like first started seeking hormones, she was told that she had to essentially be sterilized by the Swedish government, and it was like that changed like the following, like within the next couple of years. But it was a whole like thing, and like the kind of, I don't know, it's like I don't want to downplay the extent to which like other I don't know.
Yeah, so you don't want to downplay the experiences of others by comparing them to your own, because you feel like yours were somehow easier, and that's a perfectly valid point of view. That's a perfectly valid expression. But at the same time, we want to be careful to not discount our experiences, because our experiences have brought us to where we are. And as far as a trans journey goes, every trans person's experience is a valid trans journey, and no journey is more or less important. And that is literally the entire purpose of this whole series, is to show that everybody's story is valid, everybody's story is important, and we all deserve to be heard. We all deserve to be seen, and our stories are absolutely necessary to be shared, because goodness knows how many trans folks coming after us, or even right now, that just don't have a support structure, need somewhere to reach out and just look and see that there are other people having the same experiences. And so it doesn't have to be these traumatic stories of doom and gloom. They can be positive, euphoria-filled stories, but they still need to be shared, because somebody somewhere at some point in time is going to have the same suffering or lack of suffering, and they're going to see it the same way you do. So it's very important to always, perhaps not, we're not comparing. It's like comparing apples to, a watermelon. It just doesn't work. Not even apples and oranges. We're talking apples and VW buses. They're completely different things, because the circumstances are so different. So, all right. So let me talk about what drove you to get hormones. Was there dysphoria with your physical form that you were looking to rectify? Was it just the fact that you wanted the euphoria of having the more feminine form? What was it? Was it dysphoria driven, euphoria driven, or just trying to find that happy medium where you could be non-binary, which is what you said what you were looking for at the beginning?
I think it was a combination of both. It was, in the beginning, I didn't really think I had dysphoria, but like as I kind of developed and went on the journey, it was more like I had just suppressed it and was coming to terms with the fact that I did have dysphoria the whole time. Right. And so I think it was a little of both. But like there wasn't a whole lot of second guessing. Like even though that was, like I made the phone call for the appointment like less than 4 months after the like initial click. And that was, once you know.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I do. Unfortunately, some of us have to wait a little bit longer, from the time that we know. And again, it's just about individual journeys. But you did pretty well getting seen so quickly. I had to wait from the time I finally figured out what was going on with me. I saw a therapist for about a year before it was even suggested. And then I got letters, and I went around seeing endocrinologists, and all of them denied me. They all denied me in this city because they had fundamental disagreements with the process. And so it wasn't until I found Planned Parenthood that I was able to begin my journey. And that was over a year and a half after I figured out that I absolutely did want to transition, which was almost 6 months after I came out. I knew that I was transgender. Then 6 months later, I knew that I wanted to transition. And then a year and a half goes by before I'm able to do anything about it. And it's disheartening because it's a long road and you don't want to have to wait to start because the journey itself takes forever. So, okay, so you have this motivation to transition. Now, how did you go to an endocrinologist? Did you go to a primary care provider? Did you go to Planned Parenthood? Where did you find your solution?
Planned Parenthood.
Okay.
I think Virginia is one of the right-to-work states. So I lucked out with that as far as getting hormones because it was a pretty easy process. It was just informed consent, sign the form, and a couple doctor's appointments, and you're good to go.
Okay. Absolutely. Informed consent, folks, if you're not familiar with what informed consent is, it is the practice. I mean, most of the trans audience is going to know, but, assuming we have, I'm sorry, Wendy, you keep getting kicked off. Assuming we have people that don't know. Informed consent is where you are provided with documentation that explains the risks and dangers of hormone therapy or hormone replacement therapy, also known as HRT, and you sign that you understand the risks. You take it upon yourself to release Planned Parenthood from any indemnity. And honestly, that's the only reason I was able to start hormones because I couldn't get it. I couldn't get any assistance. Oh, well, that's awful. Yes, not every Planned Parenthood does trans care. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. They have a limited budget, and with current problems with the administration attacking their financial support, it creates problems, and they can't see everybody. So if you are lucky enough to have a Planned Parenthood that provides trans care, I highly recommend their services. They are good people, absolutely good and wonderful people. And they're doing such a service to the LGBTQ community because so often we can't find doctors that'll service our needs. So, okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about hormones now. What kind of journey do you see ahead for yourself? Are you talking about... Or are you looking at, surgeries? Are you looking about any kinds of procedures? Or are you just happy to feminize and just, stay the way you are? And again, these are all personal questions and you do not have to share.
Oh, that's okay. I think the only surgery I can think of that I'd be interested in would be bottom surgery.
Okay.
I don't have really a preference one way or another with the top half. Hormones. Sorry, my cat keeps jumping in the frame.
You're all right.
Say hi. The only other thing I'm really considering and eager to get done is laser, because shaving is just such a hassle. And then there are days where I shave and I feel like if I don't I feel like the only way to get it off is to peel the skin off my face, and that's just not a good feeling.
That is certainly a symptom of dysphoria. Then, if you're having that kind of reaction, then it's a significant indicator. Just don't peel your face. Okay, it doesn't.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Hair will grow through anyway. I don't actually personally have a problem shaving. I was fortunate enough to get an IPL from Norelco. It was a $600 unit, but they were selling it out of a damaged box, so I got it for $120 off of Amazon. And it works a lot like a laser, just not quite as intense and not quite as effective, but it lightened everything up so much that shaving became much less difficult. But absolutely, you will need laser or electrolysis if you are looking at bottom surgery. The consequences of not getting it properly done is unpleasant. I'm not talking about the hairballs. I'm not going to talk about how they're inside of you and you have to get them removed. We're not talking about that right now. But that's the thing. Oh my goodness. Go to the Philly Trans Wellness Conference. You'll hear all about it. Oh. That was information I did not want to know.
I could have gone without that too.
Yeah, but not if you're going to do bottom surgery. You're going to need to know these things. These are important facts. These are important details for you. So, yeah. Now I want to know. Here's a question I don't think I've asked before. Where besides your anarchist gathering, do you find your resources for like information and what you need? Is there, is it entirely through the medical community? Is it mostly virtual, as in like Instagram or social media platforms? Tell me, what do you think?
Yeah, mostly social media. The medical stuff that I need all comes from Planned Parenthood and just whatever like trans health stuff that's out there. I try not to keep like one specific source that I get everything wrong, because if they get something wrong, then I also get it wrong. So I try and keep it diverse medically, but like everything as far as like socially comes from social media. There's a good trans internet community out there.
There really is, and there are some really reliable and caring people that care about getting out, proper information. But like anything, as you said, multiple sources, because you never know when somebody's going to get something wrong. So it's absolutely necessary to. Oh my goodness! Will you in the comments please cut it out? You are not Julia. You do not need to behave like her. Cut it out. So
I missed it. What's going on?
You didn't miss anything. They're being difficult. So
okay.
Nothing negative, just distracting. So so you're getting your information from social media sources. Now, do you have someone do you have an individual that you look up to? Who's your role model? That if you could be like them, if you could follow in their footsteps, you would.
I try not to have one particular person.
Okay. Top 5 then.
Top 5. Oh. I just made it more difficult. Yeah. I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that.
Okay, so let's put it another way. Who are the people you first followed on Instagram? Who were like the first people that you followed that were not within your social circle?
I think it was Riley J. Dennis, you, and Kaylee. And then, like, I kind of joined the Discord from there, and just kind of have like been learning about like new people every week.
Kaylee brought you in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, because only a few people have the ability to just blind invite, and Kaylee's the other one. So
yeah.
I was like, I don't remember inviting you, so it must have been Kaylee. It's her group.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the founder, and she hates that term because she's like the one in charge. So we came up with the instigator. She is the instigator or agitator, because she doesn't like the idea of leadership in an anarchist society. But
yeah,
I have
agitators.
Agitators, yes, we are the agitators. So, all right. So, what do you see? Okay, let's talk about gender positive real quick. How long have you been a member on Gender Positive?
A few months.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably 3-4 months. I'm bad about checking it sometimes.
Yeah, I haven't been as active as I used to be, but I have other projects that are stemming from gender positive. So it's all the same. It's all the same mission. If I'm not on the Discord as much as I should be, and for those of you who are on there, good job. Keep it up. Okay, so yeah. So what would you say that you hope to get out of the gender positive support group?
I've kind of been just kind of talking and like just kind of trying to do better about socializing with other people, because I'm between jobs right now and I don't really leave my house that often, and so I'm trying to like isolate less, and it would be good to have like another online community that isn't like, I don't know, I don't want to, obviously I love my current friends, but like I feel like it's good to have like a community of people that isn't like based around smashing the state. Just like I feel like it's harder to wind down after.
Samantha makes an excellent point in this area, and Julia has said it on a couple of live streams that I've watched with her. It's the echo chamber effect. It's this idea that you surround yourself with people who have the exact same opinion as you. You will never expand your opinion, because all you get are echoes of yourself. So it is important to find people that may have the same experiences, may have the same desires and wishes and outlook, but they have differences that bring growth, and growth is so important in our community as a whole. So absolutely. Okay, so
yeah.
And what would you recommend? Would you say that that the gender positive support group, and it's not even the support group, for those of you who aren't clear on this, gender positive was the brainchild of Kaylee.Cake. She wanted to have a group that promoted positivity, promoted positive energy into the trans community. It works sort of as a support group, but that is not its primary function. The primary function of gender positive is just that, to be gender positive, to support trans individuals of all identities and needs, and to really just make a difference for the rest of the community. So if you aren't aware of Gender Positive, go to @GenderPositive on Instagram. There's a page there. You can see some of the posts from the active members there. You can also either DM me or Kaylee if you're interested in being a part of Gender Positive. It isn't just sitting around being free rides, folks. There's work to do. All right, so Jane, I got a question for you. Why Jane?
It has the same first two letters as my dead name.
Okay.
And then yeah, I was kind of watching. Sorry, I got your phone's almost dead like notification on my phone, and
right.
I'm adjusting it accordingly.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah, it was probably easier because like my family can go J.
Yeah, I get it. You don't ever have to say dead names on here. In fact, I'd rather you didn't. So.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to. But yeah, it's I figured it would be easier just to like have the same first syllable, and I was just kind of thinking up names one day, and I watched Janelle Monáe's like Dirty Computer, and like the robot called her Jane, and I was like, I'm gonna go with that one. That one's fine.
Well, I'm glad you put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah. I heard it in a movie once. That's where I got it.
Oh, good grief. Okay, so and it's all about what makes us happy. What can fulfill that need that has somehow been overlooked or overshadowed by demands of society. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yes, absolutely, Felicity. I will not be happy if you break yourself. Anyway, sorry. They're having conversations in the chat group, and I try to acknowledge them, but at the same time. Okay. So what would you say? We're getting close to the hour. I'm sorry. I do. It's just things to go. But what would you, if you had a piece of advice to give to the population of the trans community, whether they're new baby trans or full-grown trans, or anywhere in between, what would you give for advice?
I think like the biggest thing that's been helpful to me that I would want to like pass on is like I hear a lot of like transphobes say that like trans stuff is made up, but like the cisgenders were also made up. Like there's no reason to like
now hold on a second. We don't use our labels as nouns. There's not any transgenders and there's no cisgenders. There are cisgender people, there are transgender people. We must always acknowledge their peoplehood.
Oh yeah, Oh, sorry. I didn't realize that I had done that. I don't usually.
I'm sorry. I just always have to. I always have to correct that because I'm big about acknowledging our personhood, because we don't want to be those people because those people are gross.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. But yeah, it's like the two cisgenders are just as made up as like any like trans or non-binary genders.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Real quick, we have time, but I just wanted to interject. That's a really good point because if we had identified as a spectrum as opposed to a binary system, we would not be having any problems now, would we? Okay. Sorry, go ahead. So the cisgender identifiers are just as made up as all the other labels we give ourselves. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so how would you say that knowing that would help people?
I think it's just because like a lot of times I feel like for myself, especially because like I have to wear a wig everywhere, it's easy for like the dysphoria to kind of make me feel like fake, and it's like feeling fake in a world where nothing is real, if that makes sense.
Right. No, it absolutely does.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's just easier to not like try and. I feel like it just kind of keeps like all the negative thoughts at bay, just like as an axiom.
If you realize that there is no spoon.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Once you realize there is no spoon, you can make the world to be whatever you want. They're talking about me, Felicity. I'm mom. And when I have to lay my foot down and tell you guys to knock it off or I'm going to turn this car around, that's what they're talking about. Okay, so absolutely. And I would absolutely agree with that piece of advice. And it's actually a really unique perspective that I hadn't heard anybody really say before. I mean, we talk about it all the time, that gender is not binary. People would argue with us all day long. But yes, I do like to remind people. Okay. Oh my goodness, you guys are killing me today. It'd be really nice if you guys would be respectful in the comments. So, the idea of gender being itself a false construct is one that I think could solve a lot of problems if we could just get past it. So, unfortunately, as the trans community is only 1% to 4% of the population, we're probably not going to be changing the community's mind as a whole, at least not right away. So what do you see as an out trans woman's responsibility for the community and for herself?
for herself, like, obviously, just, like, take care of the mental health all day. That's, just, like, you can't change the world if you're stuck in bed depressed.
That's true.
And then to, like, the rest of the world, like, it's just, I think, like, exposure, like, has really, like, exposure in and of itself has helped a lot of people, myself included. Excuse me. And I think it's just, like, going out and owning it. And then I think, like, there will be, like, baby trans people and eggs out there who, like, didn't realize they could do that. And so I think it's just, like, other people did that for me, so I have to do that for other people and just kind of, like, pay that forward. And then, like, it'll help, like, it'll help, bring about a new world. Just like you can't have a revolution without cracking a few eggs, in this context. You see what I did there?
I do. The cracking the eggs comment is quite clever.
Thank you.
Because and for those of you who don't understand, the cracking the egg is that aha moment that we all talk about. It's that, finally releasing the person inside. So why are people, good God, man. All right. Felicity, just to warn you, if you badmouth Pickles in my live streams, you might be banished for life. So, all right. I'll explain tomorrow. Come find me and I'll explain it. Okay, so, all right, I think we're gonna wrap it there because it's after 9 o'clock and I know we had a break in the middle, but I'm not quite on my game tonight, folks, and I am sorry. And Jane, I'm sorry I did not bring my A game for you today. It's been,
oh, that's okay.
Sometimes we aren't our best selves, and sometimes we just have to own that. And I am totally owning it right now. I'm distracted. Things happen, and my mind kind of got elsewhere. So. Jane, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And for all of you who are watching or will watch, we appreciate your viewing our stories so incredibly, so deeply. You do make a difference by, exposing yourselves to the narratives of other people. So thank you so much. Again, Jane, would you like to say any parting words?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So, thank you so much. Again, remember that it is important to always love yourself. More importantly, it's important to remember that you are so worth it. You are so valid, and you are so worthy of love, attention, and respect. And anyone who makes you feel less than is not worth your time. So with that, thank you for joining us on Transfiguration. Please join us again when I am joined by Kristen. Surprise, surprise, tomorrow night. Tomorrow night at 8. So Kristen, we'll see you tomorrow night. And yes, and absolutely, Jane. I think your wig is absolutely fabulous. It frames your face perfectly, and so many people don't look nearly as good as you do right now. So never doubt yourself, sweetie. You look great. Okay, so again, be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, but no matter what happens, never sacrifice who you are for the love of someone else. Thanks, folks, and have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye now.